Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to get this going here. Joining us today to talk a little bit more about freelancing and the experiences of freelancing is my good friend Bradley from Talent Stacker. Bradley, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Eric.
All right. So for everyone joining in, Talent Stacker is probably one of the best sources if you're looking to get started with freelancing, and doesn't take long following Bradley and him and social media to hear about some of the amazing stories of people that have been switching around. I know the one that caught my attention the most was someone who was a truck driver and managed to make the transition. Ironically, or not ironically, but coincidentally, I actually came across a couple of mechanics also. So there seems to be some interest on the automotive industry that are dragging people to get started with freelancing. But with all of this experience that you have in helping people kickstart their freelancing careers, I think that one of the big questions that come across people that may be considering is, how do I get started? Because yes, I can set myself up, I can get systems, I can learn how to use Salesforce, I can do some Trailhead, but the important question is, if I don't have a contract, if I don't have a company that I'm freelancing with, what's it all for? So the purpose of this conversation here is to kind of answer the big question: what are some ways that we can get started? I certainly covered some in another video. I'll talk about them, but I'll give it to you, Bradley. If for people that are coming to you, what are their what are some of the things that they can do to get started?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the big questions I get. It's probably the most common question I get is how do I get clients? How do I secure these, contracts for companies and get started working projects for a Salesforce team? And there are quite a few different strategies and techniques that we have vetted and our members have vetted over time to really dive in and secure clients. And sometimes it's based on how much skill you have. So there are some strategies that work really well for beginners, and there might only be a couple of strategies for beginners, and we'll talk about that. And then there are also strategies for individuals with more specific skills. Maybe they have specialties, maybe they have multiple certifications and very specific niche areas. And there are different strategies that work better for different people based on their experience. So the majority of people watching this, it's probably, hey, I'm just looking to land my first client, and I may not have that much Salesforce experience or talent or whatever you want to refer to it as. So what works for everyone? Well, one of the main strategies, and I've used this myself, is volunteering. And I think the first thing people think is, hey, Brad, I ask you, how do I secure clients and make money as a freelancer? And now you're telling me to give away work. And I absolutely get that. But what we're doing is, by volunteering, we are building trust. We are polishing our skills. We are getting letters of recommendations. We are getting reference letters from clients that we've worked with. We're building a network. And it's not just that. It's also extremely common that if you do a great job and you bring good work to the table and you volunteer your effort, you can then convert those volunteers or yourself as a volunteer into a paid freelancer. And the way that that works is I have so many people come to me and say, okay, so I do a 20-hour free project, and they really like my work because I knock it out of the park. And maybe I even technically worked 30 or 40 hours just to make sure that it was amazing. And they love the work that I did. So when I come to talk to them and I say, hey, now I would like to get paid to do this work, and I have a nonprofit rate or whatever it is, and I have to transition this into a paid project. I can't work for free forever. I hope you guys understand. I really enjoyed working with you. And so some people say, well, why wouldn't they just get another volunteer? And the truth of it is, if you've ever been in the volunteering space and you've ever tried to get someone to volunteer to work for you, you'll find that it is not as easy as just, hey, do you want to work for free? Let me get you. The people who are putting their names out there to volunteer are usually very new to the skill. They may not even be certified. They may have never had any real world experience. And the quality of volunteers is, vastly different. And I would say probably 19 out of 20 times, your volunteer isn't going to be very good. They might even leave you high and dry in the middle of a project when things get tough. They may do things without asking. They might build directly in production. There's so many varieties of things that can happen. So what happens is they might go try to find another volunteer, but when they realize the quality of work they're getting, they are happy to come back to you and pay you to continue to help them with their Salesforce org. So that's one of the best way for new Salesforce talent or people just trying to get their feet wet in the freelancing space to jump right in with a low responsibility, low anxiety way to build your brand and get your name out there.
So I love that because there's two things that I can really add to this, which is the first one is the fact that big companies do this. Like people may think that this is a small freelancing technique, but large consulting companies do this all the time. They'll be like, they'll invest the time to just do some initial legwork, whether it's like a free blueprinting session or even start working on a free proof of concept, right? For customers, for large enterprise customers, and with the hopes of being able to establish the trust, right? So I love the idea because if you're thinking this is all about, this is just, like, why am I giving my time for free or whatever, and I just want to start freelancing, large companies do this as well, and it's a great technique. And the second piece that I can add to that, and it brought me back a long time back, before freelancing, before anything else, my very first job out of college, they were looking for an internship and I negotiated a part-time job out of it. And the way that I negotiated was, I was like, look, I'm not interested in a part-time job. I'm about to graduate from college. I got bills to pay. I got things to go on. And so let's do this. Give me 90 days. I will work part-time for you for 90 days, as similar to how your internship was structured. But within 90 days, if I can meet certain goals, then you agree to have a review and bring me on full time. And I think it still was one of the best things that I've done when I was starting off in my career, but I could very easily apply that concept and that mentality to freelancing today, because it's the two biggest things that I can relate to from what you said is establish a trust, right? Buy yourself the time to establish the trust so you can convert it into a job, convert it into a paying project. And two, more importantly, that I haven't touched on yet, is the build referrals, right? If you have people that are singing your praises, people that are like, hey, XYZ has given me a hand, has been able to put in there, understand my process. And if you're one of those freelancers, like especially volunteers that don't drop the ball, that don't disappear, that commit to it, you will find it impressive that even the most basic helping hand that you can give someone will net you some really good projects, or some really good referrals that may lead to other projects that you can use, blast your social media, build your network up and go from there. So yeah, totally agree.